Okay, that should be us. So look, good afternoon all. Thank you for joining me today. Just to have a bit of a relatively brief overview of Coral Expeditions, who we are and how we operate and where we operate, and our kind of key points of difference between us and certainly all the kind of big ship lines out there, but also the kind of other smaller ship expedition operators. So Coral Expeditions have been in business now for 40 years with quite humble beginnings, just operating out of Cairns, which our head office is still up there to this day, and just offering 3 or 4 night Great Barrier Reef, mini expedition cruises. The company has grown over the last 40 years or so to offer a really wide range of true small ship expedition cruising across the kind of wider Asia Pacific region. Our sweet spot and where we're at our best, I suppose, is in those kind of tropical and subtropical waters. So destinationally wise, for the last 30 years, the Kimberley has been at the core of what we do, and I'm going to come on to that separately shortly. But we offer domestic itineraries around all of the coastlines of Australia. So Australia's west coast, the highlights of Ningaloo and some of the epic coastlines and national parks of the area there, not including obviously the Kimberley. We've got great trips down across Australia's south coast, so from Fremantle to Adelaide, Fremantle to Melbourne, and then shorter Adelaide to Adelaide departures, exploring the really kind of remote wilderness coastlines and islands of South Australia and the wider region. Obviously, the Barrier Reef is where it all started 40 years or so ago, and we still offer our kind of in-depth 7 night explorations of the wider Barrier Reef region. Up across the top end of Australia, we've got beautiful itineraries that focus on kind of the indigenous cultures, arts, histories, and communities of Cape York, Arnhem Land, and the Torres Strait. And Tasmania, probably after the Kimberley, our second most popular domestic destination. In the height of the Tassie summer, Coral Discoverer, one of our ships, offers anything from a full 16-night circumnavigation of the island to shorter, like 10-night or 8-night expeditions that focus on, particular coastlines and regions of the area. Internationally, we've been cruising the waters of New Zealand for many, many years now, PNG and Micronesia as well. And then the wider islands of Indonesia and the East Indies we've been cruising to for many years. And we offer anything from a full circumnavigation of Sumatra or Sulawesi or PNG to shorter trips through the islands and the atolls of Micronesia, Raja Ampat, the Coral Triangle and Melanesia. And then also more recently, we've added Japan and the Philippines to our extensive kind of itineraries that we operate in international waters. So hopefully at the end of this presentation, if the kind of style of onboard experience and expedition experience is going to be for you, one of these destinations, both domestic or international, could well be for you. But I've touched on Kimberley. Many of you listening in today are going to be probably more than aware of our Kimberley reputation. So 30 years or so ago, or exactly 30 years or so ago, we pioneered expedition cruising in the Kimberley. And we now offer our classic, the main image on the left-hand side of the screen there, our classic 10-night Kimberley expedition. It's 10 nights, no matter if you're departing from Darwin or Broome. The itinerary is exactly the same, obviously just in reverse. And we've been doing this for 30 years. We like to think we've perfected this classic 10-night itinerary. We've got more than 40 departures every single year. And our 2024 season has very recently just kicked off, actually, a couple of days or so ago. And for the next kind of 5 or 6 months between April and early October, all 3 of our ships in the Coral Expedition fleet offer our kind of classic Kimberley itineraries. So if that's an area that you want to experience, come and do it with the genuine experts for the following reasons that I'm going to cover in the presentation. Off on the right-hand side of the screen there, you've got a couple of our iterations of our classic Kimberley itinerary. So up the top there, it's a 12-night itinerary, again departing between Broome and Darwin, and we've got a handful of departures each and every year. The main difference, so you still cover all the major kind of mainland Kimberley highlights, but the big difference is a visit to Rowley Shoals, Scott Reef and Ashmore Reef, and these are stunning reef systems quite far out, approaching kind of international waters, but amazing scuba opportunities, amazing snorkel opportunities. And we've added an extra 2 nights to our classic 10-night Kimberley itinerary to allow us the time to not only see those classic Kimberley highlights on the mainland, but to allow us time to cruise out to Scotty and Ashmore Reef and then get back again as well. And then the bottom side of the screen, we've got another 10-night itinerary with the main difference here that we spend a couple of nights in the Tiwi Islands off Darwin, which is a big Indigenous art centre. So it's got a really Indigenous art and culture and history kind of focus those particular departures. But the main image on the screen is the core product. It's at the core of what Coral Expeditions has been doing for 30 years. It represents, probably 50% of our guest numbers each and every year, and has done for 30 years and counting. So if the Kimberley's an area of interest, please head aboard with us. And to tempt you that little bit further, we actually had Channel 10 on one of our expedition vessels this time last year, and they filmed a documentary. This is not the full one, I hasten to add. It's just a small snippet. You can find the links to the full 30-minute documentary on our genuinely excellent website, so have a little look. But this is just a little tempter for you.
Pristine, isolated, untouched. It's wild up here.
The Kimberley to me is far more than I expected. It's almost like another world.
I've never seen anything like it, and it's here in Australia.
The scenery, the art, it's just been an amazing experience.
There's nothing like seeing it in person.
You just get this sense of time and space and colour. It's a very special, almost spiritual experience.
That's the kind of thing that I like sharing to the guests, the Indigenous side of things.
There's so much change and there's so much beauty.
It's almost like cruising into a nature documentary.
Getting into the adventure, getting into the sense of excitement. It's absolutely beautiful here.
The Kimberley is just a fantastic place to be.
You'll enjoy every single moment of it.
So yeah, that was just a little snapshot of the Travel 10 documentary. So the kind of aim of today's presentation or webinar is not to delve too deeply into our kind of specific destinations and individual itineraries. It would take absolutely hours, and I will spare you that today. We do run weekly webinars which pair either myself or a member of the sales team up with one of our guest lecturers or expedition team, where we delve really deeply into a kind of particular cruise series. So please, again, jump onto the website. They're really easy to sign up for. And we, like I say, we tend to run a Kimberley focused webinar, and then on the alternate weeks, one of our other domestic or international itineraries. So please jump on. Likewise, if you don't have the time for that, our website is genuinely excellent. So we provide you, full detailed day-by-day itineraries, lots of videos, lots of images, lots of further information about our vessels and the Coral Expeditions fleet. So please, again, jump online and have a little look at that. But so why choose Coral Expeditions? So I'm going to cover a few of these points in today's presentation. Firstly, we focus on the destination rather than the ship itself, which is a very, very different prospect from some of the big ship cruise lines out there. It's all about taking you to remote wilderness destinations, either impossible or very hard to get to by the traditional means of transport, and then maximizing your time in said destination. It's all about a true expedition ethos. So we have deliberately reduced the size of our ships to a maximum capacity of 120 guests on board, even our largest vessels, so we can kind of maximize that true expedition experience. We go to really remote, inaccessible places, certainly areas where the big ship cruise lines don't venture, or certainly don't venture very, very often. So it's that true small ship expedition ethos, whether or not we're cruising in the waters of the Kimberley or Tasmania and domestically, and then in the wider Asia Pacific region. And we are 100% owned by an Australian company. We sail under the Australian flag, and we have an exclusively Australian crew on board. Admittedly, I must say, with a handful of Kiwis sprinkled amongst them. So we provide that informal, relaxed, while still very, very premium onboard experience, but combine it with that warm, relaxed Australian style of hospitality. And we do all of this on purpose-built ships, which I'll come on to a little bit later. They've been designed and built as true small ship expedition vessels, and designed with the predominantly tropical and subtropical waters in which we cruise. So plenty of covered outdoor areas to sit back and enjoy the beautiful weather and the beautiful vistas drift by. Our unique Explorer tenders, which you can see on the screen, possibly the biggest key selling point for you guys today, considering coral expeditions for your next expedition cruise or holiday. I'm going to come onto those in far more detail shortly. And local expertise that is genuinely unrivaled, particularly in places like the Kimberley. I mentioned previously, we pioneered expedition cruising there 30 years or so ago. No one has the levels of accrued knowledge and expertise, which is particularly crucial in places like the Kimberley, with such massive tidal ranges, that if we turn up at Horizontal Falls or Montgomery Reef or many of these attractions that the Kimberley is known for at the wrong time of day and time of the tidal system, Horizontal Falls won't be there. It will be an area of slack water. Montgomery Reef will be completely underwater. Silica Beach, where we tend to go for a beautiful champagne reception and sundowner drinks, could have a 300 or 400 meter mud flat between us and this beautiful beach. So having that local knowledge is absolutely crucial. We've been doing it now across the domestic for more than 40 years now. So hopefully that local expedition expertise, is what you're looking for in your upcoming expedition cruise. And it's an all-inclusive product, with minor exceptions, which I'll come on to. So obviously all your excursions, all of your food, meals whilst you're on board, alcoholic drinks during lunch and dinner service, all come included. Standard Wi-Fi on board comes included, and we've spent a large amount of money recently installing Starlink capability across the Coral Expeditions fleet. So your Wi-Fi now included in your fare, and is easily now good enough to keep in contact with friends and family throughout your trip. And as I've mentioned, Australians owned, operated, and flagged. So from why choose coral to who chooses coral. We don't have any age restrictions on board, and occasionally we will get children or young adults joining us on board one of our expedition itineraries. They almost exclusively tend to be traveling as part of that wider family group that's going on that big bucket list, family-wide expedition. The majority of our guests are domestic Australians, and I probably include New Zealanders in that as well. Our sweet spot is from that kind of 55 plus age range up. We've got a median age in our early 60s. The vast majority of our guests have cruised before, either the big ship experience and they're looking for something a little bit more boutique, or all those clients that have done big expedition cruising around the world and are looking for that kind of unique style of Australian expedition cruising that we offer. But almost exclusively, everybody is coming because they want to really kind of learn about the unique environments we go to. They come for the flora and fauna and the marine life, and in suitable locations like the top end of Australia and then into the islands of Indonesia and PNG. They're coming for those really unique, genuine cultural interactions. If you or one of your clients is our kind of client and our kind of demographic, then please come and learn more. You're going to love what we offer. So just moving on to the Coral Expeditions fleet. So again, like with the itineraries, I'm not going to go into too much detail today. Please jump onto our excellent website, where we give you full deck layouts, full descriptions, loads of images and videos of all 3 ships in the Coral Expedition fleet. All you really need to know across the 3 ships is all of our cabins are outward facing. At a bare minimum, our leading cabin categories come with porthole windows, but as you can see from the image here of one of our newer and larger ships on the screen, many come with private balconies and picture windows. All of them are en suite. There's no internal cabins whatsoever. And as you can see from the image there, there's loads of both in and outdoor deck space for you guys to sit back and relax when you're not spending time, actually exploring these beautiful destinations that we go to. So 3 ships in the Coral Expedition fleet. Coral Discoverer on the screen now. She's our oldest vessel, has undergone multiple big refits, but is incredibly popular with our long-time guests. She's got a maximum size of 72 guests on board, so she's very much a yacht-like experience across 36 staterooms. And again, all you really need to know at this stage is all of our cabins are en suite, all are outward facing, and many come with private balconies depending on the style of cabin that is going to interest you. And then we have our 2 newest vessels, Coral Adventurer and Coral Geographer, sister ships to each other, practically identical. Coral Adventurer was launched in late 2019 and Coral Geographer in late 2021. So both pretty new to the Coral Expeditions fleet. Both have a maximum capacity of 120 guests on board across 60 staterooms. And again, all en suite, all outward facing, many with private balconies attached as well. For any more information on the fleet, again, please jump onto the website. There's loads of information for you to peruse. Request one of our brochures and we'll happily send it off to you as well. So I've just got a really brief video for you to look, which kind of sums up the Coral ethos. Enjoy, and then we'll chat on the other side. Thank you, and sorry for the brief pause in the video there. So that video sums it up quite nicely and kind of sums up the whole ethos of Coral Expeditions and kind of what we represent. In short, with 4 decades of experience and expertise, it's all about getting you as our clients into the right place at the right time. I mentioned, that kind of level of expertise and experience in the Kimberley, but, we've been cruising, in domestic waters, like I say, for 40 years now. We've been over in New Zealand for over 12 years. We've been cruising in the waters of PNG for Indonesia for, I think, 11, 12 years as well. So it's having that experience and expertise that knowing that the vast majority of places that we're taking our guests to, we've been there multiple times before, and we are perfecting that, genuine expedition experience. And it's all about discovering unique and remote destinations and cultures, from some of the most remote islands and atolls of Micronesia and Melanesia to our own, coastline here in Australia, some of the most remote, inaccessible, hard to get to across the north, south, east and west coast of Australia, and not forgetting Tasmania. We don't focus on places like the Balis and the Boracais of this world. We don't go anywhere near there. It's all about taking you guys to really remote, inaccessible wilderness places that have been, untouched or relatively untouched by mass tourism in the Asia Pacific region. And it's about, and I've touched on it earlier, maximizing your time ashore. So the ship is not the destination, very different from that kind of big ship cruise experience. The ship gets you to these beautiful destinations and areas in, premium comfort and style, but it's about spending as much time as we can ashore or in the water in applicable locations, maximizing the time in these places that you've spent a considerable amount of money to experience. And it's all about sharing in the expert knowledge of our expedition crew and guest lecturers. So again, different to the big ship experience, we have no formal onboard entertainment at all, outside of our full schedule of lectures and presentations from our kind of permanent full-time expedition team on board. And then we pair them up with guest lecturers chosen for their kind of specific knowledge and obviously specific to the areas in which you cruise. And they provide a range of lectures and presentations based on the history, culture, geology, flora, fauna, cultures of the various regions in which we cruise. So it's all about kind of connecting and learning along the way and being guided by kind of true experts in their field. And then again, particularly in the top end of Australia and in the islands of PNG, Indonesia, Philippines and beyond, it's engaging with local communities and cultures and having genuine cultural interactions that aren't put on for those mass tourism, because again, the places that we're going to and visiting are practically untouched by tourism, and they're genuine cultural experiences that will be, you know, a real highlight of the trip. And we do all of this in true expedition style. So it's small groups and no waiting. It doesn't matter if you're cruising in the Kimberley, Tassie, or the islands of Micronesia, Melanesia and beyond. The kind of expedition experience is absolutely the same. You'll see our Explorer tenders off the back of one of our vessels there. I'm coming on to those shortly, but they allow us to on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes. So when you join any Coral Expeditions cruise, you're not waiting for your allocated shore time. You know, many days we're offering 2 shore excursions a day. So you're off the ship 4, 5, 6+ hours in each and every day. And they're unique to Coral Expeditions, and it's a large part of how we can guarantee that true expedition style with small groups and no waiting your turn. And we do all of this, as I've mentioned, under that kind of warm and relaxed Australian style of hospitality. So again, owned, sail under the Australian flag and crewed by Australians. So, you know, if you're looking for that white jacketed, you know, fine French dining experience, that's just not what we offer at Coral Expeditions, but I'll come on to that shortly. So the onboard guest experience, again, both domestic and international, is the same. I've mentioned top right hand corner of the screen there that the only onboard entertainment we offer is our full schedule of lectures and presentations, obviously completely optional, specific to the areas in which you're cruising, obviously. And the aim is that before we turn up at that particular indigenous rock art site in the Kimberley or, you know, or beyond, we provide you with enough information to get you excited and to provide that kind of complement to kind of seeing it to yourself. The top left-hand side of the screen is one of our bridge decks. So we have an open deck, open bridge policy across all 3 vessels in the fleet. And we actively encourage, you know, an interaction between our guests and our Australian crew on board. And then the remaining images just show some of our public areas that when you do get a spare moment, you can kind of sit back and just relax and watch these beautiful vistas drift by, both domestic and whilst you're in international waters. And I must say, usually with a cheeky gin and tonic or glass of wine in hand. At the core of what we offer as an onboard experience are 2 things: the schedule of lectures and presentations that I've just mentioned, and then the onboard food and wine experience. So we have open galleys on all 3 of our ships in the fleet. You can watch your small batch cuisine be prepared, and we can cater, because of our low numbers as well, to kind of specific cuisines when we're cruising. So in our Tasmanian summer cruise series from, you know, January to late March, we'll focus on Tasmanian produce, Tasmanian wines, Tasmanian single malts, and vice versa, where applicable, wherever we travel. But as you can see, it's you know, it's informal, it's laid back, while still being a very, very premium onboard experience. So our expedition team, we combine our ELs with our chosen guest lecturers. These guys are full-time employees of Coral Expedition. If any of you have cruised with us previously, you're going to know Ian Morris on the left-hand side of your screen there. Many of them have been working with Coral Expeditions. Well, Ian's been with us for, I think, more than 24 years or so, but many have been with us for many, many years. And they provide the conduit between that, onboard experience and these really diverse, epic, remote locations that we go to. And then obviously for that real specific, detailed knowledge on that history, culture, geology, whatever it may be, we complement them with our onboard guest lecturers as well. And as mentioned, here's one of our guest lecturers on board. So again, all of our presentations are optional. They're just designed to provide you and arm you with the knowledge to really appreciate the histories, cultures, landscapes and diverse places that we go to. So moving on to our explorer tenders, you've heard me talk about them or mention them in the presentation a handful of times already today. And if you're probably going to take anything away from this presentation whatsoever, it's probably this. Our explorer tenders are absolutely unique to Coral Expeditions. We have designed and built these ourselves, and they're something that no other cruise line, international or domestic, can offer. And they provide the perfect conduit between our mothership vessels and the really or predominantly remote wilderness inaccessible areas that we visit, and they allow us to really provide that true expedition experience. So just a couple of the main features. Comfortable seating, which is a big one, especially compared to the more traditional Zodiac inflatables, which I'll come on to shortly. They've got a sunroof or a rain roof when required. This is particularly crucial because of where we sail, which is predominantly those, tropical waters. The baking tropical sun, when you're on one of these explorers or out on excursion for multiple hours, it's going to become painful very, very quickly in that baking tropical sun. And we've got a toilet on board for that kind of remote convenience. And again, that might not sound like a big deal, but it allows us to not have to constantly interrupt your precious excursion time with constant trips back to the mothership and the facilities on board. And in places like the Kimberley, it avoids the need to have a quick dip into the ocean or find the closest beach, which is particularly inadvisable in places like the Kimberley with the ever-present threat of saltwater crocodiles. So they provide, that perfect conduit between ship and shore. They're absolutely perfect for both beach and harbour landings. And again, because of where we kind of choose to spend the majority of our time, harbour facilities or formal harbour facilities are highly limited. So landing onto rock platforms, landing onto beaches, as you can see here on the screen, is exactly what they've been designed to do. They're kind of glorified landing craft, I suppose. They've got a drop-down ramp so you can just amble onto the beach. The boarding process is also incredibly simple. So the bottom two photos starting on the left there is the boarding procedure. So you board, and this is the same across all three ships in the fleet. You board off one of the main decks. There's no steps or ladders to contend with before you take your seat in your comfortable seat. And then the middle photo is the hydraulic system, and that gently lowers you into the water, and then away you go. And then obviously the reboarding procedure is exactly the same, just in reverse. So you're not jumping into Zodiac inflatables that are bouncing next to the ship. You're not getting wet in the spray. You've got back support. You've got protection from the elements. And with a couple of powerful engines mounted on the back, we can cover large distances in relatively short amounts of time, which again allows us to maximize your time actually spent exploring the myriad destinations that we go to. They also double up, where applicable, on many of our itineraries. On the image on the left there, as the perfect kind of scuba and snorkel platform. And I'm going to come on to those in a little bit more detail shortly as we go right here. So snorkeling. So there are many of our itineraries where, getting in and under the water is a real focus of some of our excursions, particularly in the well-known places domestically. So Ningaloo Reef and the Abrolhos Islands over in WA, obviously in the islands and atolls of the Great Barrier Reef, but also when we head north into international waters. The islands of Indonesia, Raja Ampat, Coral Triangle, some of the islands and atolls and coastlines around PNG, and then certainly up into Micronesia, Melanesia, Philippines and Japan. It's all about, or certainly you have the opportunity to get in and under the water, frequently on many of our departures. And as you can see from the image there, with the drop-down ramp at the front and the side access, they're absolutely perfect and double up as that great snorkeling and scuba opportunities. So with scuba diving, all three of our ships across the Coral Expedition fleet have full scuba dive facilities on board. As I've mentioned, it's a vast majority is an all-inclusive experience. Scuba diving is one of the minor exceptions to that rule. That if you are a pre-qualified scuba diver and you're looking to pick one of our itineraries, which I highly push you towards, that has regular scuba dive opportunities, please just let us know at the time of booking so we can reserve you a spot. But yeah, we've got all the gear on board. We've got Dive Master on board, but it does come at an additional cost per dive throughout the trip. And then moving on, my final slide on our kind of excursion vessels, obviously the more traditional Zodiac inflatables. So our Explorer tenders, unique, designed and built by Coral Expeditions to provide that, perfect conduit between our mother vessels and the really remote places that we go to. But we also complement them on all of our trips, domestic and international. We complement the Explorer tenders with the more traditional Zodiac inflatables. And it just means that we found that it's the perfect way to provide, choices to you guys as our clients and provide that kind of perfect expedition experience. And it allows you guys on a day-by-day, case-by-case basis to pick and choose how adventurous or not that you want to be on a day-by-day basis. And yeah, using Zodiac inflatables alongside the unique Explorer tenders allows Coral Expeditions to provide an unbeaten reputation to provide that true kind of expedition experience, no matter that your own kind of physical requirements as well. So just coming to the end of the presentation, and I know I'm just going over the kind of 30-minute window, I've just got a short video that sums up particularly the explorers and the boarding procedures, but some of our kind of day-to-day and onboard experience. Enjoy. That just gave just a bit of an overview of like the onboard experience, but yeah, a particular night was just the ease of that boarding of the explorers, which again, considering the kind of demographics that we predominantly cater to, it's an incredibly easy process, both onboarding and then coming back on at the end of the day as well. And it's unique to Coral Expeditions, and it just means, if you're in that kind of 50-55 age range, that's not unheard of to have dodgy knees, dodgy hips, that type of thing. But it provides, the ability for all to get off the ship, no matter how remote the location, and have a beautiful, true expedition experience whilst you're doing it. So today, the aim of today's presentation was just to give you a bit of a sneak peek as to kind of who Coral Expeditions are and how we operate, and how we probably differ to the wider view of the kind of big ship cruise lines out there. We're an Australian success story, and we've grown rapidly over the last kind of 30-40 years or so ago. If you cruised with us in the Kimberley or any other of our kind of domestic or longer standing domestic itineraries, you're going to be more than aware of that really kind of Australian true blue style of expedition cruising that we offer. With the aim today that I kind of piqued your interest, hopefully, please jump onto our genuinely excellent website, where we give you full detailed day day-by-day itineraries, loads of videos, loads of images, obviously attached to each particular itinerary and cruise series. And if you have any questions, please reach out to our service and reservation team, still based up at our Cairns head office and have been for 40 years now. You can reach them on the Explore Coral Expeditions email address. You can call them on the 1-800 number, or again, if you prefer to go through your travel agent, we've been working with our trade partners now for the whole 40 years of our tenure. So please reach out to them and they can contact us on your behalf as well. So thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it. Hopefully I've piqued your interest in who we are and the style of travel we offer, and certainly some of the genuinely epic domestic and international itineraries that we offer. We do things a little bit different to others, but that is kind of, it allows us to provide that authentic, true expedition product that Coral Expeditions are known for. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And we hope to see you on board soon. Goodbye. Cheers.